Says I'm alive, but there we go. I think it's working now. Maybe, maybe not. Come on, YouTube. There we go. Hello, everybody. This is Charles Walk. I seriously apologize. I had some technical difficulties. I was supposed to be doing this video at 10 o'clock. I'm running late and I have to get out of here in like about 20 minutes. Well, 25 minutes, but I'll make this quick. I wanted to talk to folks that are running into issues getting something up working with Entity Framework 4. It's not overly difficult. It's just that I had an easier process that was working just beautifully for me. So I didn't have to worry about doing the code aspect of things. I like the GUI aspect of things. So just to give you an idea, this is my diagram that I used for Entity Framework for Art in the Raw. These are all the tables, structures, the relationships, and everything. So it was really pretty easy for me to get all this going. And then when I realized going to Entity Framework Core, they totally ripped this out, and you pretty much have no UI. You got to do everything from code first or from database first. And I ran into issues getting database first to work. I don't know what the issue is, but it was a nightmare. And I don't know if it's just specific to my machine, if I have something on my machine that's causing the problems. But anyway, I love the designer. They're taking it completely out, but for a a interface that a lot of people love, there are people out there that are seeking to have a replacement. So one of the individuals that I have um, attached myself to has built something that does exactly that, and I didn't have the link. So let me get folder up. And I only show you guys this because the simple fact that I got it working last night. I've been working on it for probably the last 3 days, 4 days probably, and I couldn't get it to work. So last night I had an idea and I tried it and I got something working. So where am I looking? Designer. There it is. Sorry. So this is a Entity Framework Visual Designer. It's on GitHub. It's totally free, and it pretty much works on EFCore 2 and 2.2. Is not currently supporting 3, which is what I was on, and it works with 2017 to 2019 is buggy. Okay, so I couldn't get it to work with 2019, and then I didn't have any core 2.2 on my machine, so I decided to get all that up last night because I couldn't get it working before, and I was going to go the route of just pretty much writing a Dapper interface and leaving my old code in place and just using a web service. So last night I had an idea to install the 2.2 and see if I can get this working through Visual Studio 2017. And then I pulled up an interface, a class, and then I just created a designer and wow, it worked. And so then my next stage was to try to determine if I can get this thing to work in Visual Studio 2019. So what I did was I created a couple classes using that designer, and then I went and saved it, went and opened it up in 2019, and tried to run some code against it from a 2019 application, and it worked. So my process right now is to recreate all of my entities in his new framework. And there's instructions. I mean, he's got better instructions here than Microsoft has ever had, to be honest with you. My hats are off to him. These are very detailed. There's still a couple of questions that I have, but the documentation here it talks about persistent entities. You can go down and you can look into your notified your I property notified changed. There's examples on how to implement that if you're using Ooh, WPF. Ooh, excuse me. I'm sorry, y'all. Um, Having some heartburn. Ooh, had some dialysis this morning. I'm sorry, y'all. But here you have all your properties. You can set everything up just like you could do in regular entity framework, which they have the same structure. So he did a very good job on a good comparison type UI, so that you're not having to relearn a lot. There are a couple things you have to relearn that are different, but for the most part, they're just so similar that I'm able to just go in here and just I was able to do all of this morning, and then I took a nap because I was tired. I didn't get much sleep last night. Been suffering with insomnia, but this is what I'm going to use, and this is my implementation. And I just wanted to show this to you guys. And since I don't have much time, I'm going to leave this to you guys to evaluate yourselves if this is something that you're interested in, if this is something that can help you. If you need so if you have some questions and so you run into some issues, feel free to send me an email, DM me or what have you. The one thing I wanted to bring to people's attention too is this: they have the feature in here where you're able to actually take existing code and put it in just by using this interface right here. So you can go and build your entities. Let me show you a quick example. Let's say I'm gonna build an entity. I'm gonna put that entity right. Where'd it go? Where'd my entity go? Um, did it work? There we go. Anyway, you have this entity, and let's say I don't want to create the properties manually. I can go in here and use oh, where did it go? Access properties via code. So if I have some existing code, I can just paste it in here like so, and it'll become a property in this. Well, that's not really a property, but let's say I create a property. Uh, um, so I have a whole bunch of these getter setters from a class. I can copy and paste them in here. Boom, and it creates all the entities for me. Why isn't it doing it? What's going on? Properties. But anyway, this is a feature that I'm not. Am I not typing something right? Um. Oh, I take that back. I mean, you can paste it in here, but it looks like there's some slight changes. It's not really actually getter setters. These are actually just, huh? That's interesting. But anyway, that's one of the features. I'm gonna have to figure that one out. But let me see if there's anything else. It allows you to create all these right here are enums. You're able to create your enums right in line. You can see what your enums are as you're creating your classes. Like I got an enum in my user class. My user class is using a gender type. That gender type uses gender type enum, male or female. So I mean, I like the way that this is structured. So what it allows you to do is once you're done, you just do a right click and you say generate code. It generates all your code from all your entities, and then you're ready to go. And then you want to see all your code, all your stuff is over here. You want to see what your classes look like. There's your address class. This is all your stuff. You want to see what it actually looks like. There you go. There's your code. It puts everything in place. And one of the things that I did like about that is it puts all the attributes on here, so you don't have to worry about going and doing that. Background generated. And then you'll know specifically how it's generating it for the database. Because my concern was I was doing it through the code first methodology, and for trying to put the attributes on there and the foreign keys, I had to use a combination of the attributes and the Fluent API, and I didn't really quite know because with Entity Framework Core, um, um, yeah, in Entity Framework Core. it uses a different way of applying the Fluent API. So your normal many to many is different now, and then your optional doesn't exist. So I had to try to figure out which one to use, and then I got to that doubt moment of whether this was the right configuration for the database. And I had to say, oh man, I just need to use my old interface. And so this is going to help me do it. And so it builds everything for you. You can go in through and look through all your classes. It structures everything. There's your key, there's your required. Let me look at a complicated entity. The user actually. So you got the user has, there's the, now it makes the bools nullable. Now, I usually view them as just null because they're supposed to be defaulted to false anyway, but I'm going to see how this works because I'm not really quite knowing if I should just leave it like that because otherwise it'll come back as null and I'm looking for booleans. So I think I'm going to be changing that anyway, but it does this, the max length, you sets all your strength, your lengths for the database, and then that way you're able to make sure that, because otherwise by default it gives you max length for all the string variables, and that is not a good idea. So uh, play around with it, see if it's something that you can deal with. Works on 2017. Look at all the specific details on what's required to get it to work, and let me know how it works for you. Take care. Have a good one, guys.